impact, because quite honestly, Paul can say, I'll take every measure I can possibly take, and I'll sustain all of my runoff in my yard. Does that mean he becomes exempt then? It's a cost of doing business in the city. And if we happen to look at a business and say, well, maybe we'll drop it back to 25%, but there is an impact in this city by those people that work in that business, by the diesel trucks that haul the product out. And so it's just like the minimum water bill that we have. We don't have it that you pay strictly on usage. There's a cost of doing business every day to make this city run. And that's your piece of it. And and I don't know if it's, if you want to go down to 25% or we stay at the 50%, but there's a piece of it that it says, in order to make this thing work, the state mandated, unfunded, we have to have this. We have to have it in place. That's part of living in Washougal. Paul or anybody else and there's a lot of people, Sherry Ann Wright talks about all the things that she does. There's a lot of people in this city that could say, I don't contribute. Well, they do because you drive your cars. But everything I've got then is going to be on my property, so I want exempt as well. Well, now the whole system fails because we have no money.
The way that I keep thinking about it is maybe different. The truth is that we are compelled by state and federal law to deal with stormwater. We don't have any choice about that. One of the particularly Byzantine ways that they have of compelling this is that everyone on the planet has legal standing to sue us for failing to comply. The dear leader of North Korea, with whom we do not even have diplomatic relations, could go to court and sue the city of Washougal. There are things that we have to do. We have to pay for them. There really are only two ways to pay for them: a stormwater utility or the general fund. The money has to come from somewhere. If we take money out of the system, wherever we take it out, we're going to have to put at least that amount back in from somebody else. That's where I'm stuck, is that we need an equitable balance between commercial, industrial, and residential. But we need to meet the bottom line. And if we start giving away more and more industrial exemptions, it means that we have to charge more and more to our residents. It's one of those rocks are hard and water's wet, zero-sum kind of games. So that's where I'm stuck, is if we give here, we have to take there. So who are we going to take from?
And I don't believe when we finish this exercise, I don't believe that you're going to be unstuck at that point. I believe that through the analysis through staff and our other means, we're going to be coming back with some alternatives and some decisions that still need to be made. It's the point of the discharge into the river is well put, that they're the only ones that currently have that, and it would be seemingly easy to do that. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that the Killians will be back at that point, and Mr. Hickey may be back at that point, and others, and they will make a very compelling case that council will want to hear and respond to, that they truly make an unbelievably minimal impact to that system and also shouldn't be subject to it. I think, and I hate to term it a can of worms, because it's something that no matter what, whether it's this week, whether it's a year or 2 years from now, we've got to go back through and reanalyze in order to put the utility into the shape that it really needs to be in and the form that it needs to be in. It's just not going to be pleasant stuff to go through. And again, I don't see us wanting to go through it twice or 3 times.
Well,
I would rather do it once.
I like Michael's point.
exterior wood is the standard.
I'm sorry?
Exterior wood is the standard. $1 million investment, $100,000 a year cost to operate the system, pumping it out to the Columbia. Nobody else is doing that.
However, I have a couple more thoughts regarding this. Because, Rod, you bring up some good points about just the cost of doing business in the city, and I understand that. And I think one essential question we have to ask ourselves and answer to some satisfaction eventually is, what is being taxed? I mean, we understand that the whole thing is being imposed upon us from above. We do not necessarily impact that. Although our citizens would be more motivated to make sure their representatives listen and change the system if they felt the burden directly. Not that I'm suggesting we do that directly. I want to be clear about that. But we have to codify in the language, in the law, what is exactly being taxed. And so the easiest solution so far has been, well, surface, impermeable surface. Okay, I got that. But if we now take a look at and take a more close look at this, it reminds me of, I think it was Einstein's statement that things should be simplified as much as possible, but no more. And unfortunately, maybe it was too simplified just to say impermeable surface, because that doesn't account necessarily for all the impermeable surface that is then treated, or I should say that has water that runs off and is treated, so that it's no impact to the city's infrastructure. Now, if we're going to start talking about trucks and diesel equipment and whatnot that goes out on the roads, then you're talking about taxing how many axles they have or how much weight and how many vehicles you have. It reminds me of a family member that out in Eads, Colorado, a very small town, had a printing press. And at one point, the city came up with a new tax on motors. How many motors they had in each business, and they had a tax on each motor. So they had one honking big motor, one drive shaft that ran the entire length of the printing press, and they just had all these belts that came off of the thing. That was a solution. We're going to find on some level, if we come up with an unfortunate situation where we tax the wrong thing, the market will respond in ways that we may not be able to predict very easily. And it's very frustrating for us to say that, yeah, we got to make up, if we start giving everybody these discounts, we got to make up that money someplace. But on some level, if what we're taxing is the actual stormwater facilities, and if the stormwater facilities are required because of largely residential stormwater runoff, on some level, they're going to be the ones who have to bear the burden of those facilities. And it's a lot easier to stick it to the industry because they don't vote necessarily. But on the other hand, I think that may be our better, more principled place to go. As much as I hate going that direction, we may have to go that way eventually.
Broke that all out.
And I would even say too, I kind of feel like those who are opposed to this exemption, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I kind of feel like you want to have it both ways. To where...
No, what I
Right.
want is to keep this program alive because we have to do it.
I understand. We have to do it, but at the same